Well, Poland's foreign minister has told me that when it comes to Ukrainian ceasefire negotiations, America's reputation is on the line. Radoslaw Sikorski said the US president wants to be recognized as a great leader, but in order for that to happen, America needs to prevail. I started by asking him how big a challenge Europe is facing today.
Very big indeed, because Russia has put its economy on a war footing, spending 40% of its national budget on fighting this war and on making itself ready for possibly even a larger conflict. So we need to stop spending the peace dividend and we need to rearm. And that's certainly what the European Union is doing in Brussels today.
Do you worry that Putin will outlast everyone in these negotiations? Control Ukraine or much of Ukraine and then move further west? Is that a genuine fear?
That would be his plan, I would guess. He wants all of Ukraine. He denies Ukraine the right to exist as an independent, democratic, pro-Western nation. It's a classic colonial narrative in which he set himself up as someone who decides who may be a nation and who may not. And of course, if he captured the resources of Ukraine, both industrial and human, and the largest army on our side, namely the Ukrainian army, who knows what he might do? It would be mad, but invading Ukraine was not rational either.
And could that lead to a war with NATO, in your view?
We don't want it. We are a purely defensive alliance, and Putin knows that. He has actually withdrawn troops from the Kaliningrad exclave between Poland and Lithuania and from along the Finnish border, which means that he knows that we are not going to attack him.
Let's talk about President Trump. Do you think he cares enough about Ukraine to fight for it in these negotiations?
We wish him luck. His approach is unusual. Normally you have secret negotiations, then some confidence-building measures,
and then he cares about.
And then
Ukraine.
when you are confident that a deal can be struck, then the principles bless it. He's spending his executive time on the issue, so he cares about having a success, and we wish him success, which we defined as a fair peace. Not just a ceasefire, but a fair long-term peace for Ukraine.
Do you think he can get that? Because the suspicion is that he wants a deal, any deal, preferably one that comes with economic benefits for him. He's talking about taking over ownership of power stations, nuclear station. Do you think that he just wants a deal and out?
I think the Russians would make a mistake if they took him for granted. I think he's capable of changing his policy rather rapidly. And if he decides that Putin is crossing him or being uncooperative, his people have said all along, including to me personally, that they could ramp up the sanctions, that they could ramp up support for Ukraine.
Do you think he would do that? Do you think he would be sufficiently tough on Putin?
I think he's giving Putin a chance to exit this disastrous war with face. But if Putin doesn't take this chance, I think he's capable of coming on strong.
There is all this talk now of this peacekeeping force. Military officers are talking about it today inside Ukraine. Is that a non-starter in your view? I mean, Putin simply won't accept it, will he?
Well, the whole war is about who decides what foreign troops may conceivably be on Ukraine's territory. And clearly we believe, our countries believe, that it's up to Ukraine to decide if she wants any foreign troops on its territory,
do you think NATO,
not Putin.
But do you think NATO troops should? Do you think it's a sensible thing if NATO troops were part of a peacekeeping force, given the danger that would present?
Ukraine was given the Budapest security assurances, then a treaty with Russia, and these two types of security guarantees proved empty. So Ukraine now says, well, if there's going to be peace, how are you going to reassure us to go on peacetime mode in our industry, for example, that, Putin will not rearm and attack us again. And that argument has some force.
Poland would not be part of a peacekeeping
Poland
force.
would be part of the operation,
Of the peacekeeping force,
but in the most useful way. We are a frontline country. Our first duty to NATO is to secure the external border of NATO. Remember, we have 600 kilometers of border with Russia and Belarus. And we have the key logistical hub in Poland, which needs to be protected.
So just to be clear, you wouldn't put troops inside Ukraine?
We are not considering it because we think that our role would be to support the logistical effort. And conceivably, NATO would have to protect its own troops from the air.
But do you think it will happen? I mean, Putin is going to say no to that.
Yeah, but Putin doesn't get to decide that.
So you could see it happen?
Yes.
Would you want greater security guarantees if there is no negotiated peace? Even if there is a negotiated peace, would you want more security guarantees yourself from America? Your president has talked about nuclear weapons, American nuclear weapons in Poland. What is your view of that?
A negotiated peace with Putin, I hope you agree with me, is not something that we can put all our faith in, because Putin is a man who has publicly lied. At the time of the Anschluss of Crimea, said, these are not my troops. And you remember, in the run-up to the invasion of Ukraine, he kept saying, I have absolutely no designs of invading Ukraine. Well, how can you trust the word or the signature of a leader like that? So everything that we agree with, Ukraine agrees with Russia, has to be double-checked and verified.
Do you worry that President Putin is playing Donald Trump?
Well, of course, they are making demands, and it's the old Soviet style of negotiating to always escalate demands beyond anything reasonable so that maybe your victim will crack and grant you some of them. It's an old Russian tactics, but we shouldn't be fooled by it.
And I asked you earlier whether Donald Trump cares about Ukraine. You didn't really answer it. Do you think he cares about Ukraine or just wants to do a deal and move on?
Well, he should, because his predecessor, and I know there were rivals, but he, in the name of the United States, planted the standard of the United States in downtown Kiev and said that the US will be with Ukraine come what may. So the credibility of the United States, not only in Eastern Europe, but globally, is staked on on the quality of the solution.
Do you trust Donald Trump?
He wants to be recognized as a great leader. He wants to do his global power game competition with China. For that, he needs allies, and he needs America to prevail. And America would not be seen to prevail if Ukraine were forced to capitulate.
It's been suggested that Donald Trump would concede that Crimea was part of Russia. What would you make of that if that was part of any deal?
Crimea is not the United States to give away. If there are any sacrifices that need to be made for the sake of peace, it is only up to Ukraine to make them. It is their soldiers who are dying, it's their people who are being bombed, it's their children who are being stolen, it's their people who are suffering under occupation. We should not be the ones to tell Ukraine what to do.
Finally, have you made up with Elon Musk? Because you had this online spat over Starlink.
Elon Musk is a great pioneer, and I wish him success on his way to Mars.